MademmyifyASMR. Welcome back to MademmyifyASMR and another True Crime Tuesday. Today's video is the first that I am recording on my new phone. So I am actually able to record apparently in 4K using the front camera. I'm also hoping that this new phone will have less of the audio issues that I've had to correct when I've been editing previous videos or totally missed correcting and the videos turned out really silent. Anyway, sorry, I was just checking it was actually recording. Today we are talking about the murder of Harry Collinson by Albert Dryden. This murder actually happened on live television, if you can believe it or not, and you can actually still find the footage of the murder. It's still available online. I'll probably link one of the videos down below in the comments so that you can watch that if you're interested. It's also, although it is still murder, probably a slightly lighter topic than the last couple that we've done. I think next week we might move on to something darker again. I was actually going to cover Colin Island, but then a warm gun, who is one of my subscribers to this channel, actually revealed that he's related to one of the victims of Colin Island, but YouTube flagged to remove the comment because of some of the words in it. So I want to check that I'm not going to cause any offence to you if I do that video. I know you said that you didn't particularly know them, but I would always rather check. If it is a problem, I'll pick somebody else. I've not started writing it out yet, I've just done the research. Anyway, let's get on with this week's and Harry Collinson. Albert Dryden was born on May the 12th, 1940 Now, what he planned to use the land for, he'd started off with one story and he'd changed it several times. Like, he'd said it was a small holding, then he'd said it was an air raid shelter or a fallout shelter, and like he kept changing his story. Tried and used land he had bought located on Eliza Lane in Bucksfield. Construction of the bungalow began in 1988 and Derwentside Council received their first complaint about the property in 1989. By the April of 1990, an inquiry was launched into the issues surrounding the planning permission of the property. Dryden lost his appeal and his mother passed away, an occurrence he blamed on persecution by the council. Harry Collinson was Derwentside Council's chief planning officer. He had originally tried to work with Dryden to come to an agreement on how the bungalow could be built, because the land he had bought was greenbelt land, and in England we have a certain land which is is classed as greenbelt, which means there are certain laws about constructing on that land, like you're not meant to really build on greenbelt land, and he was planning to build a house that was in a ditch on this land, and he claimed he wouldn't need planning permission because it was in this ditch, but he did, and also the fact of where it was located meant that there was no way he could ever get planning permission for that. Dryden refused to change his plans, so it was ordered that the property was to be torn down. Dryden made a series of threats to Derwentside Council, threatening to blow up their offices and threatening to shoot anyone that attempted to demolish the bungalow. One of Dryden's friends even went into the council offices and threw a live chicken at Collinson. Given Dryden's fantasist reputation, the threats weren't taken seriously. On the morning of June the 20th, 1991, at around 9 AM, Sergeant Colin Campbell, PC Stephen Campbell and PC Ian Kirkup arrived at Dryden's bungalow. An armed response unit and an ambulance were also on standby at Collinson Police Station, so I suspect they were potentially expecting it to turn ugly. Also, I don't know if Stephen and Colin Campbell were related. Dryden spoke up. Derwentside Council officials led by Harry Collinson and contractors also arrive. Dryden promised Campbell there'll be no trouble. The camera crew and a presenter from BBC's Look North are also present to film a segment for the show, because this planning dispute had been going on for so long. It was kind of like it was going to be like a news feature of the bungalow finally being torn down. If you don't know what Look North is, it's like the regional news for the northeast of England that's shown on the BBC. There's an equivalent on ITV as well called 90s. It's basically just regional news. Dryden spoke to the council solicitor, Mike Dunstan, and Collinson about a letter from the DOE pinned to the gate. He claimed it says a decision is not due for 5 weeks. Collinson says the letter doesn't challenge the demolition order, to which Dryden responds that anyone going through the gate will be charged with criminal damage, as he has goats and hens in the property. He claims that the RSPCA are also due to attend. In response to this, Harry Collinson assures him any livestock will be removed by the demolition team. He also warns him not to obstruct the demolition team. At this point, Dryden returns to his bungalow to get his gun observers and camera crew then moved into position along the perimeter fence. A friend of Dryden's, John Graham, begins arguing with Collinson, who then orders a bulldozer be driven off the low loader and moved into position towards the fence. At this point, Dryden returns with his gun drawn. He waved the weapon about before aiming at Collinson, who on the news footage can be heard to say, "Can we get a shot of this gun?" At this point, Dryden fires the weapon, shooting Collinson in the chest at close range. Dryden climbed through the fence. Collinson was alive, but wounded, laying in a ditch between Eliza Lane and Dryden's property. He fired off 3 or 4 more shots. One hit Stephen Campbell in the back close to the spine. Another hit BBC reporter Tony Belmont in the arm. He then walked over to Collinson's body and shot him in the face. 2 more police officers, Superintendent Stan Haggerty and Inspector Jeff Young, arrived on the scene at the opposite end of Eliza Lane. Dryden reloaded and shot at the car and they drove away. Dryden then fired shots at the demolition vehicles and shot Collinson again in the chest. He then calmly walked back to his caravan. 12 minutes after the shootings, the armed police unit from Concert arrived, as well as a tactical firearms team from Durham Police HQ. At 11:20 AM, Sergeant Taylor from the tactical unit approached the caravan carrying a field telephone. Dryden agreed to use this to maintain contact with the police. As Dryden walked to the perimeter fence to watch the sergeant connect the phone, Sergeant Taylor realised Dryden's holster is empty. He tackles him and 2 other officers secure the arrest. After the arrest, Dryden claimed his land is mined and the bungalow booby-trapped, so a bomb disposal squad are called from Catterick, but when they arrive, they decide to call in S21 Company 11th Ordnance Battalion from the south. Catterick is the nearest army barracks to Durham, and I'm guessing that they don't have a specialist bomb disposal unit. I was meant to check with a friend who was ex-army and totally forgot, so sorry. But I guess that's why the Ordnance Battalion was called in, because they had the specialist equipment and they perhaps don't at Catterick or didn't at Catterick in the 90s. On June 22nd, after 2 days of electric and manual sweeps of the land, no explosives were found. However, in Dryden's bungalow, officers found 9 guns, including a murder weapon. At another address associated with Dryden, 33 weapons were found. Dryden's trial lasted 13 days, and it took the jury 2 hours to reach their verdict. He was sentenced to a life sentence for the murder of Harry Collinson, a second life sentence for attempted murder, and 14 years for the woundings. Dryden appealed his convictions in '94, but this was rejected. He also made 4 parole applications, but these were rejected as he showed no remorse for his crime. Dryden maintained he was a victim of a high-level Masonic conspiracy, and Collinson had been a golf partner of the Chief Constable of Durham Constabulary, neither of which were true. He also claimed prison authorities were attempting to poison him. In 2017, Dryden suffered a severe stroke and was released on compassionate grounds to be cared for at a residential home. Dryden died in September 2018 in the care home at age 78. response was heavily criticised in the official reports into the incident, as this had been just 4 years after the Hungerford massacre,